Hey guys, this is Angelo from Campionato, and I'm getting on my podcast to talk about a couple things today. I'm talking about Spalletti and his start at Juventus and how I think things are going to go with him. I'm also going to be talking about Pioli and Fiorentina and how they're in last place right now in the Serie A. I'm also going to talk about the fact that 5 points separates first through seventh place in Serie A. And lastly, I'm going to be talking about the European competition for the Serie A teams this week. So, to start off with, as you guys may or may not know, match day 10 is concluded with Serie A, and Spalletti took over for Juventus, and I think that's a good move by Juventus. He's an experienced coach. He's won the Scudetto. He's been around Italy for a while, and I don't think he's going to, be able to work miracles immediately, but he definitely will, get his system in play, and I think he'll improve the team, and the Juventus will be stronger for that. I think that for the benefit of Italian football, it's good to have a strong Juventus for the Italian national team and also for European competition. Thinking back, Juventus, I think they played three Champions League games so far. I think they, I think they drew two and they lost to Real Madrid. So essentially, they have 2 points in the Champions League, and they really need to get their act together because we need them to qualify for the next phase. And I think that Spalletti, though I had reservations about him earlier in his career, I think he's become a world class coach, and I don't really look at his stint in Italy, the Italian national team, as bad as some might. He's the guy's a philosopher. I think he needs to be coaching his team every day and getting his principles across, and to try to help the players, getting players once a week, like for a week, um, every couple months. It's hard for him to get across his football. I think that that kind of approach needs to be more straightforward, and allow the players to use their skill while also implementing tactics and a system of play. But also, I think that he was not able to. I don't think he, with the amount of time he had with those players, that he, was able to motivate them, like a Gattuso would, or what have you. Um, so, anyways, I feel bad for the guy. He felt real bad about, letting his country down. But I'm happy to see that he's back in the Serie A. I think it makes for good theater to see, coaches like Spalletti play against Conti, play against Gasparini, and a lot of the other, coaches in the Serie A. I mean, you have Spalletti now, you have Allegri, you have all these great coaches in Serie A. So it'll make for good theater. And he got off to a start against Cremonese, and no offense to Cremonese, they've been having a great season. They're newly promoted from Serie B, but I don't think Juventus is out of the woods yet. But he's going to need some time, and they got to win against Cremonese, which has proven to be hard for a lot of teams. AC Milan lost to them, so we'll see what happens with them. We'll see, but I definitely think they're on the right path. Do I think they're going to win a Champions League? No. I think they need to upgrade a lot of positions in that team, starting with the defensive line there. I mean, when you're relying on, I mean, I'm not saying Rugani's playing, but when you're relying on players like Rugani at times, and Kalulu, it's just not the Juventus I'm used to seeing. I'm used to seeing Chiellini, Bonucci, these kind of players on the defense with Buffon and Ciro Ferrara. Juventus, to have a lot of soul searching to do, and I think they need to upgrade this team significantly. But having said that, I don't know if Spalletti's going to get the team in the top four, but I think they're on a better path than with Tudor. I said it. If you look back at my information that I've posted, I was not a fan of Tudor being the coach of Juventus. I wasn't. The guy was assistant coach with Pirlo, and I wasn't a fan. But I said, all right, give him the opportunity, whatever. I was not a fan of it. I did not think he was going to be able to, put this team where it needs to be in the Champions League and the Serie A, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not a Juventus fan. Um, and I said this many times. He really turned me off in the FIFA Club World Cup when they lost to Manchester City like 5-2, and he had excuses like, "Oh yeah, this team they got so much money to spend, yada yada yada." I've never heard that from any ever a Serie A coach, and he's coming up with excuses. And I think he did it. I think he did it after that as well. So I'm glad to see that he's not the coach anymore, and that Spalletti's there to get things situated for the Juventus team and the Juventus fans. But when they play Napoli, obviously I want Napoli to win. But like I said, I am an advocate of Italian football. I am looking at the big picture and the growth of the league, the stability of the league, the development of the Italian national team. And if you look at history, the Italian national team has always been strong when Juventus has been strong. The Italian football, iron sharpens iron. If we have more strong teams, it will help the league. So, anyways, that's what I have for Spalletti, and I wish him the best of luck. I think the guy is a fantastic guy. Um, I posted about it. He was when he won with Napoli, he was runner up for like Coach of the Year in FIFA after Pep Guardiola. And the reason why Guardiola won is he was he was won the treble with Manchester City. So, anyways, so moving on to Pioli at Fiorentina. I don't know what Fiorentina is going to do. Maybe I've missed the the news, but I think that Fiorentina needs to move on from him. I don't think they've gotten any wins in 10 games, and they're on the bottom of the Serie A. That's not good. And again, I go back to I'm looking out for what's the best for Italian football and the best for the league. And Fiorentina in the Serie A is what's best for the league. They're a historical, phenomenal team. They are renovating a modern new stadium with all this beautiful green construction. They're going to have, this roof over the stadium that's going to, it's going to accumulate rainwater for the facilities to use for the bathrooms and stuff like that. And it's going to have solar panels on the roof from what I read, and it's going to power the stadium. It's going to be a beautiful stadium, and we need a Fiorentina in the Serie A. Florence is one of the beautifulest cities in the world, and if people go there and they want to go see a soccer game, they need to go to a nice, beautiful stadium and watch great soccer. So I'm sorry, Pioli, I don't think you're on fire anymore. I think you should step aside and let somebody else take charge because what's going on here is not good. And Fiorentina, they cannot be in last place. I think, even Keane, the guy, he was scoring goals left and right last year for Palladino, and all of a sudden, I don't think he's really scoring. The team ain't scoring much at all. They played AC Milan, and I don't think they scored. No, they played Inter Milan the week before this, and they didn't score. And maybe this, and now they play Lecce, and they didn't score. So I think that they need to make a change with Pioli. They're probably going to give him they're probably looking for a coach right now to replace him. If I would have to guess, I don't know what happened with Palladino, but he was doing good last year. They should have kept him. Um, but I think maybe they're going to give him to the international break, which comes in a week or so. And if they don't get out of the bottom three, if you don't get a win this week, um, I think they're going to make a change over to international break when Italy goes back to World Cup qualifying. I don't know what happened to Pioli. He was with AC Milan, and he went to Saudi Arabia to catch a bag, and they fired him, and then he came back, and with Fiorentina, he's not doing much. So I think it's time for him to get going because that team cannot be relegated. It's too historical of a team, too much. Um, they got too much going on over there. They got a new training facility. They have a new stadium being built. If you watch the games, you'll see that the stadium is like a war zone because they're building a new stadium. I think it's going to be done, I want to say like next year in 2027, maybe, like January 2027. So like a year to go. So sorry, Pioli. Um, so moving on, we have the Serie A race is heating up, and we just have 5 points separating first to seventh place there and the table. So we have Napoli on 22 points, Inter on 21, Milan on 21, Roma on 21, just 2 points separate first to fourth. Then we have Bologna and Juventus and Como, Lazio. Wow. I'm telling you that is tough. I mean, this league, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not trying to just, like pump the league up and because I love Serie A, but I mean, you're talking about these teams, Napoli, Inter Milan, Roma, any week, they could be in first place or out of first place. Then you have Bologna, Juventus, and Como. Como is a really, good team. And I said earlier in the year that I thought they were going to be fighting for a European competition, and then obviously you have Lazio and Cremonese and stuff like that. So Atalanta, Atalanta's another one. Atalanta's another one. I really don't understand. I mean, I'm not trying to be talking smack, but I said it with this Juric guy here, that I wasn't a fan of him taking over Atalanta. They went from Gasperini to Juric. Now I'm hearing that they're going to replace him. Atalanta has 13 points. This was a team that made it to the quarterfinal of the Champions League, won the Europa League, has been so close to winning the Serie A, and now they're mid-table. So, um, listen, this league right here is very tough. I mean, you have a team like Fiorentina in last place. Um, it's a very tough league, and your time up as coach your time could be up as coach if you're not um, getting wins or getting points or moving ahead. I think it's one of the strongest, toughest leagues in the world, and in the UEFA coefficients, it 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 backs that up. Now, do I think that there's some teams in the world that give our top teams trouble? Yeah, I do. Like the Real Madrids, Manchester Cities, um, who else? Bayern Munich's, those teams like that, PSG, that have just, a market value of over $1 billion for players, and they could go spend, 100 million. Like PSG, I think they spent like 70, $80 million euros last year to get Kvaratskhelia. Like no Italian team could do that right now. So I think that this league is very tough, if not the toughest in the world. However, I do think that the teams with obviously the most money, they're very difficult to beat. But this league over here. We'll see how it finishes. So moving on, we have the Champions League and the Europa League starting back up this week, and it's an important week to for the Serie A teams, in my opinion. I want to say we're currently this year in eighth position. We're currently this year eighth position in the UEFA coefficients. So what that means, if you don't know, is that we are, out of all the European nations competing in the Champions League, Conference League, and the Europa League, we're currently eighth. So if you look at a table, we're currently eighth. And you get points based on how you're doing in these competitions your teams are doing. So we're currently eighth this year, second overall. Overall, it takes it looks at multiple years how you're doing, not just one. So currently we're eighth, and overall we're second. So we've not been doing good in Europe, and I projected this going into the season because there were just so many new changes with Atalanta, have a new coach in Juric because Gasparini left. Juventus getting two-door. Then we had Inter Milan. Simone Inzaghi left, and Kivu took over. Who else do we got? Juventus, Atalanta, Inter, and Napoli. And Napoli, yeah, Napoli. They've been one of the biggest disappointments. But I can't say I didn't expect this. I mean, if you look at Conte's record, he in Europe, he's not been good. He's not been good. So I was not optimistic about this year. I was actually very concerned because I don't want to lose the second place overall. And Napoli, we lost 2 games to Manchester City, and we lost to PSV, and they beat Sporting. Like I told you about Juventus, they drew 2 and lost to Real. Atalanta, I think they drew every game, and no, they drew 2 games and they lost to PSG at PSG. And Inter, they're the only ones that have been doing good with Kivu. I think Kivu's been doing a decent job, but again, they haven't really had the toughest schedule this far in the Champions League, but they're at the top. So it isn't too late. We could still make a comeback here. And we got to start with it today. Looking at the games that we have going on, Napoli is going to play Frankfurt. Frankfurt is an eighth place team in the Bundesliga, and they're playing in Naples. I fully expect Napoli to get the win in this game. Like, they need to get the win. It's in Napoli. They have to get the win. Napoli, the Italian champions, are a better team than Frankfurt. I'm sorry, Frankfurt fans. The only team that I would be concerned about in the German league is Bayern Munich, obviously. So what else? Frankfurt. Then we have Juventus. They're playing at home versus Sporting. Sporting is second place in the Portuguese league. Napoli beat Sporting. Juventus is playing at home. Spalletti's the coach. Juventus, they only have 2 points and they're at the bottom. They need a win. I see a fired up Juventus team coming out and getting that. Moving on here, Inter, they're going to play Kadiat. This is a Kazakhstan team. No offense, but Inter playing at home against that team, they probably will be resting a lot of players, and that should be another win. And then finally, we have Marseille versus Atalanta, and that will be a tough game. Obviously, Marseille I don't know much about them, but they're second place in the French league, and I'm sure they have. I think De Zerbi is their coach, and I think Weah went over there, and I think they got a pretty decent team, and they have some other players. I know that the other American, Tanner Tessman, went over there, so it's not going to be an easy game. They're going to Marseille. I mean, I really don't have I won't be shocked, but if Atalanta wins this game, I think that would be, a good result for them. They need a win. Um, so that's in the Champions League. The standings for the Champions League, like I said, Inter's in third place. Atalanta's in 17th place. Napoli's in 23rd, and Juventus is out of they're in 25th place. They're actually out of the cutoff to go to the next round. So there you have it. Not doing real good. In the Conference League, we have Fiorentina. They're playing Mainz, and Mainz is 17th place in the Bundesliga. Pioli, he's under fire, so I expect those guys to get a win in Germany. And the standings in the Conference League, Fiorentina's in first place as expected. They got 2 wins. On the Europa League front, we have Roma's playing Rangers. Rangers is 4th place in the Scottish League. They're going to Scotland to play. I think that'll be a tough game. Usually those fans over there in Scotland, they're pretty rowdy, so I think that'll be a tough game for them. But, Gasparini will have to figure something out. They just lost to Milan, and I'm expecting at least a draw or win in that game. And then we have Bologna versus Brann, and Brann is a 3rd place in Norway. And Bologna is playing at home, and yeah, I could see them getting a good result. And in the Europa League, the standings over here, we have Bologna in 18th place and Roma in 24th place, 23rd place. So it is very important this week that Roma and Bologna get a score, get a win, or they're going to be out of this competition too. So as you can see, Europe hasn't been going good, and we need to straighten it out. So we're in 8th place in this year, and I think starting this week we could get some good results. Maybe we get 3 wins in the Champions League and 3 wins in Conference League and Europa League, and things will be good. So, and to conclude the podcast, I have Angelo's hot takes. We have Spalletti. He's back with Juventus. I think he's going to do good things. It's going to be tough for him to get in top 4, but I think Juventus is better off with him as the coach right now, and we'll see how he does. Number 2, Pioli. Things aren't going good with Fiorentina, and if he doesn't get a win this week in Conference League and in the Serie A, I think that in the November international break, he will be removed and they'll put somebody else in there. Number 3, the Serie A is a very strong league. As you guys can see, there's 5 points to separate 1st through 7th, and we have a historical great team in last place in Fiorentina. And lastly, we really need to start our European competition, restart it today in a Champions League and start getting some wins. Same with the Europa League and the Conference League. As I mentioned, we're in 8th place this year for points gained in European competitions, and we could still catch up, and we need to start it this week. And that's all I got for today. Make sure you guys subscribe, you follow me on my platforms. We're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. Help me grow this community. And if you guys want to hear me talk about something, send me a DM or an email or something like that, and we'll go from there. See you guys.